The views and opinions expressed on America's Workforce Union podcast and its digital media channels are solely those of the speakers and do not necessarily represent the views and opinions of the producers or sponsors.
Welcome to the America's Workforce Radio Podcast, the flagship production of the American Workers Radio and Podcast Network, where organized labor and its never-ending fight to protect the rights of the American worker come first. Now, presented by LIUNA, Laborers International Union of North America. Here's your host, Ed Flash Ferens.
Protecting our workforce from the heat, a landmark executive order in New York City. Meanwhile, over 1,300 new flyer workers in 2 states ratify a new collective bargaining agreement. And today on the show, the Heat and Frost Insulators Labor Management Cooperative Trust. Welcome to the June 25th edition of America's Workforce, where we are available on at least 5 platforms, including YouTube, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Pandora. Pete Ielmini will be our featured guest on the show today. Today is a Thursday, so it's Trades Day here on America's Workforce. Pete is a longtime supporter of the podcast, serving as executive director of the Labor Management Cooperative Trust, the Insulators, Mechanical Insulators, LMCT.com. A couple things we're going to talk about with Pete. Well, first off, he is in the state of Arizona at the annual Apprenticeship Conference. He'll talk about that. This is something they do every year, and he says it gets bigger and better every year. We're also going to get an update on the Federal Mechanical Insulation Act, which has bipartisan support. This big news came out in April of this year. We did a whole show on that, and if you missed it, just go to awfpodcast.com. And lastly, we're going to talk about something very near and dear to Pete's heart, and that is mental health and suicide prevention. The good news, and this is all posted on that website, Mechanical Insulators, LMCT.com. A senator from Nevada, Cortez Masto, is sponsoring some legislation that requests Congress to investigate and survey reasons why construction workers are suffering from a disproportionate amount of suicide and substance abuse. Like I said, this is very, very important. It's important not just to the insulators, but to all the trades. And there's a lot of interesting information posted on that website, Mechanical Insulators, LMCT.com. So Pete is going to speak to that right here on America's Workforce. Now, a brief look into the world of labor. This segment brought to you by Boyd Watterson Asset Management. $38 billion of assets under advisement. You could find more at BoydWatterson.com. You know, a couple of days ago, this was on Tuesday, we did a show with the Natural Resources Defense Council, and our guest was Juanita Constable. If you missed it, just go to awfpodcast.com. It was all about protecting workers from heat. And you know, there's some hot spots in the country. Workers in the field collapsing, not getting the water they should be drinking. And right now, we don't have any national standards. Only about 7 states have some kind of standard on the books. Well, I want to take an opportunity now to salute the city of New York City and the people that made this happen, starting off with National COSH. What's National COSH? That's the National Council of Occupational Safety and Health. And New York City has stepped up where federal OSHA has failed. National COSH is applauding Mayor Zoran Mondani, Julie Su, who used to be the acting attorney general. She's now deputy mayor. Also, the New York COSH Coalition, the Temp Coalition, a number of labor unions, worker leaders, and community advocates for securing a landmark executive order that strengthens protections for workers facing extreme heat. As heat waves become more frequent, intense, and deadly, New York City is taking action while workers around the country continue to wait for a comprehensive federal heat standard that actually protects workers both indoors and outdoors. Jessica Martinez is the executive director of National Cost. This is what she said. This order sends a clear message. Workers cannot wait. Every worker has the right to a safe and healthy workplace regardless of their job, immigration status, zip code, or the temperature outside. As extreme heat continues to threaten workers' lives and livelihoods, protecting workers is not optional. It's a moral obligation and a public health imperative. And here's Julie Sue speaking. She says, at a time when workers across the country are still waiting for a federal heat standard that protects workers both indoors and outdoors, well, New York City is demonstrating that action cannot wait. This victory shows what is possible when workers organize, communities mobilize, and elected leaders actually respond. And she goes on to say, protecting workers is not only the right thing to do, it's also smart economic policy. She notes what hurts workers hurts our economy. When workers suffer heat stress, injury, or death, families, employers, and entire communities bear the cost. Safe workplaces save lives, strengthen businesses, and build stronger communities. So congratulations to those in New York City for actually leading the charge. And hopefully other cities and states will follow. Some good news for a couple of states, southern states, right-to-work states, I might add. Over 1,300 new flyer workers, including Alabama and Kentucky, just two of the states, ratified a new national collective bargaining agreement that the union says includes language guaranteeing additional holidays, locked-in healthcare costs, clarity on seniority and transfers, better training, and stronger safety protocols. The agreement sits on top of local agreements like the one in Anniston, Alabama, where workers won you ready for this? A 25% pay increase over 3 years. You know, that's not easy to achieve in Alabama. Not easy at all. Also, a new research from Gallup finds that tech workers who do not use AI on a monthly basis are 3 times more likely to be laid off than their counterparts who use AI at least monthly. The findings were published on the same day that the New York Times reported that some tech workers are now being told to curb their AI use due to an exponential increase in costs. The findings by Gallup and the Times illustrate the bind many workers face. Too little AI use, on one hand, poses a layoff risk, while too much prompts corporate cost-cutting measures. Go figure. You're caught in the middle on this one. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Pete Ielmini on behalf of the Heat and Frost Insulators.
You're listening to America's Workforce with Ed Flash Ferens.
It takes LiUNA to build North America's infrastructure. From roads and bridges to schools and skyscrapers, the men and women of LiUNA, the Laborers International Union of North America, build the projects we depend on. From constructing the Freedom Tower on the site of the former World Trade Center to untangling Washington, D.C.'s congested interstate, LiUNA members do the work that matters. Find out what it takes to be built by LiUNA at liuna.org. That's liuna.org.
America's Workforce is brought to you in part by the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, where you can find more at teamster.org.
America's Workforce is sponsored in part by Boyd Watterson Asset Management, LLC. Find out more about our investment solutions tailored to meet the needs of Taft-Hartley funds at boydwatterson.com.
There is unity and strength for workers.
We are the USW.
We are the USW.
The United Steelworkers.
The largest industrial union in North America.
We represent 850,000 members in the U.S., Canada, and the Caribbean.
We work in metals,
rubber,
chemicals,
paper,
oil refining,
atomic energy, and the service sector.
We are steelworkers, standing strong and fighting for what's right.
America's Workforce is brought to you in part by the International Federation of Professional and Technical Engineers. You can find more at ifpte.org. America's Workforce is brought to you in part by the Ironworkers. You can find more at ironworkers.org.
America's Workforce appreciates our sponsor, the Columbus Central Ohio Building and Construction Trades Council, who represents more than 18,000 workers from 19 affiliated local unions and district councils.
Now, back to America's Workforce. Here's Ed Flash Ferens.
And remember, you can check us out on Facebook or follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter. That would be AWF Union Podcast, AWF Union Podcast. Well, it's a Thursday. That means it's Trades Day here on America's Workforce. And a longtime sponsor of America's Workforce is joining us, not from New Jersey. He's my Jersey guy. He is in Phoenix, Arizona today, and that's Pete Ielmini, Executive Director of the Labor Management Cooperative Trust. Mechanical Insulators, LMCT.com. Well, you can send the Jersey guy to Arizona, but you can't take the Jersey out of him. How's my Jersey brother doing today?
Hey, how you doing? I'm bringing a little Jersey here to Arizona.
Okay, my friend, what takes you to Arizona this week?
This week we got the Insulators Apprenticeship Conference, something that's near and dear to my heart. Apprenticeship always is. That is our, in the trades, in the union trades, that's our backbone. That's where we're able to teach people the craft of mechanical insulation, how to be a leader on a job site. And believe it or not, in my opinion, you can't talk about that stuff without talking about labor unions and labor as a whole and how unions work. If you watch TV and read the papers or magazines or social media, people think unions are the worst things as part of being antichrist, and it's further from the truth. And this is the spot where we're able to talk about in our apprenticeship programs, why unions exist and why they were formed. And they were formed on two major principles that still holds true today. In fact, I'm going to be speaking in a couple of hours, and I'll be talking about this very same thing. Unions were formed in the 1800s, 1880s, with two main principles, so that a man or woman can earn a decent wage, to be able to buy the things that they need to live in the greatest country in the world, and also to have working conditions where people are treated fairly and safely. And those two main principles ring true today. In the apprenticeship world, obviously, we're teaching people new to this industry and how to be a productive insulator. But we also teach them how to be good leaders and good foremen, and how to preserve and maintain our union values. And it's so important that we do that.
It's funny you bring up about how unions are portrayed, especially in the media. And you have to understand, those of you listening to this show, much of the media today, the majority of the media today is conservative based. You think about the popular programs, the Fox News, radio, TV, the radio commentators, print. They still take a horrible look at unions. And a good example, I got an email this week from the House Education and Workforce Committee. This is a committee that used to be called the Labor Committee, but they don't like that word labor on the conservative side. And they were talking about apprenticeship programs. They're scheduling a meeting on apprenticeship programs. Pete, they did not invite anyone from a union apprenticeship program. How about that?
I'm not surprised. That's pretty typical of the way that government sees our apprenticeship programs, especially the unfavorable leadership will not portray the unions in proper light, as well as the apprenticeship programs.
This conference that goes on, this is a yearly type of thing. Maybe you could, I'm sure you've been to many of them over the years. What usually the takeaway from these things, and how is this one maybe a little bit different than years past?
Each one seems to get better than the next. We're able to bring in more and more professionals as our instructors are getting more and more training as professional instructors. There's so much to our industry, and we try to educate our apprentice coordinators and the instructors and the local unions and the JAC, Joint Apprenticeship Committee trustees on the different aspects of our industry. I guess being that I'm old, I have the ability to see how these conference has grown. I believe the first conference was dated back to 1978, and it was three apprenticeship directors at the time met together in Alabama. They had sandwiches and beer on the side of a pickup truck for an afternoon, and they shared ideas. And, what they were doing in Louisiana, you know, the people in Alabama wanted to be able to do it, and I forget where the third party came from, but then they said that we should do this next year, and it grew to 10 people, and then it grew into, "Oh, let's have meetings at hotels." It has grown steadily ever since then, and today now we got 300 people. We're in a major hotel. We have sponsors that come in and want to be able to help our cause and donate material, donate products, professional services. And the other thing that we developed over the last 15 years is that we developed what we are very proud of apprenticeship competition. We have 10 conferences in our international throughout the US and Canada. All the locals compete in it. A local will have a competition, apply in various materials, and there's a written test as well, including union topics, union fundamental topics. And every local will have a representative, and they compete at the conference level. And like I said, we have 10 conferences. So then each conference will have a champion, and then each conference will send that champion to the apprenticeship competition, which is being held this week. And we set up props and all the same props, piping systems. We bring material in under a very timed event and structured event. We have 10 apprentices equally insulating a system. And then we have a various of judges, and basically the one that is the best gets deemed as the apprentice of the year. I'm the old football guy. I'm the football coach, and I believe competition is one of the most powerful things that we have. And we all know how competitive business is and how competitive everything is. Everything is a competition, whether you believe it or not, but it is. And we sharpen our skills and we improve ourselves to be able to compete. And to watch this competition grow over these last many years, maybe it's even been 20 years now, it's absolutely phenomenal. And the men and women that compete in this, I give them all the credit in the world, because it takes a lot of courage and confidence to be able to display your talents in front of everybody. And I mean that sincerely. When you compete, you leave it all on the field, pardon my football analogy, but I give credit for the people that do that, and they subject themselves to that judgment. They're so excited to be part of this. They're so excited to be part of the insulators community, and they take their pride in being a union craftsman. It's going to be finishing up tonight. The winner of the competition. It's kind of neat. We do it at it's like a dinner dance, and the wives and the girlfriends and the parents are there. All the competitors are recognized, but as true competition is, there is one winner. And it's a pretty special night for our apprenticeship community to do this. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be happening tonight.
As it should be. It should be pretty exciting for everybody that's engaged. And competition, to your point, makes you better. There's no question about that. No question. Pete Ielmini is our featured guest on the show today. He serves as executive director of the Labor Management Cooperative Trust. Mechanical Insulators, LMCT.com. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get an update on the Federal Mechanical Insulation Act and also talk about a senator, Senator Cortez Masto, sponsoring a bill requesting Congress to investigate and survey reasons why construction workers are suffering from a disproportionate amount of suicide and substance abuse. This is an issue very close to the trades, especially Pete Ielmini. More to come right here on America's Workforce right after this. Don't go away.
This is America's Workforce. More shows available at awfradio.com.
It takes LIUNA to keep America running. Over 70,000 public employees are part of LIUNA, the Laborers International Union of North America, delivering critical services such as healthcare and emergency response, as well as maintaining roads and sanitation systems. Even the National Postal Mail Handlers Union, representing over 47,000 U.S. postal workers, is affiliated with LIUNA. Find out what it takes for LIUNA to keep America running at liuna.org. That's liuna.org.
America's Workforce Radio is sponsored in part by the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades, District Council 6, representing painters, glazers, drywall finishers, and sign and display industry workers. They remind you that belonging to a union is your right as an American.
This segment of the show is brought to you by the Brotherhood of Maintenance of Way Employees Division of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. For more information, please visit bmwe.org. The Iron Workers Great Lakes District Council, consisting of 8 iron worker local unions in West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Michigan. We build the skylines and bridges along the Great Lakes. With more work than ever before, the Great Lakes District Council is actively searching out the next great iron worker, whether it's building the next Intel plant or constructing a bridge to safely connect our great cities along the lake. So join the Iron Workers Great Lakes District Council today. Find out how and learn more about the council by visiting iwdistrictcouncil.com. America's Workforce is brought to you in part by the Communication Workers of America. You can find more at cwa-union.org. America's Workforce is brought to you in part by the United Steelworkers. You can find more at usw.org. America's Workforce is presented by the Laborers International Union of North America. Feel the power right now at liuna.org. Founded in 1887, the Brotherhood of Maintenance of Way Employees Division of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters represents the employees responsible for tirelessly constructing and maintaining the national rail system in America. For more than a century, the Brotherhood of Maintenance of Way Employees has proven they have what it takes to protect its members and meet the ever-changing challenges of the rail industry. Today, the BMWED continues to fight for job security, fair wages, better benefits, and safer, more modern work environments. For more information, please visit bmwe.org.
Now, back to Ed Flash Ferens with America's Workforce.
And remember, you can check us out on at least 5 platforms. That includes YouTube, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Pandora. And when you get an opportunity, here's what you do. Just sign up and receive our shows on a regular basis and give us a rating. Always appreciate those 5-star ratings, so please keep them coming. Featured guest today on Trades Day here on America's Workforce is Pete Ielmini. Pete, Executive Director of the Labor Management Cooperative Trust for the Insulators, Mechanical Insulators, lmct.com. And if you go to that website, you can read about Senator Cortez Masto sponsoring a bill that is going to take a deep dive into the reasons why construction workers are suffering from a disproportionate amount of suicide as well as substance abuse. Before we get into that, though, any update here on the Federal Mechanical Insulation Act? I know this is a big issue for you, Mr. Ielmini, and we're entering the summer months here, and we got vacation time, and I'm sure there not too much is being discussed, but what do you know right now? What can you share with us?
Thank you for bringing this up. Yep, we're still working on it. The update is that the House bill is still in suspension, and that sounds bad, but actually it's a good thing. Suspension is a process that the House of Representatives has. It's been approved in all aspects. It just sits in a group of other no-brainer type of bills that when they have time, they just got to look at them and pass a whole bunch of them. And that's what at least suspension is, the way I understand it. I'm not sure why they use that term, but it's a good thing. It's just a matter of formality of passing in the House. Now in the Senate, we have the bill introduced. We had introduced in April by 2 senators, Democrat Kathleen Cortez Masto and Republican Senator Daines out of Montana. Bill is 4312, I've been hitting the Capitol Hill and the Senate buildings to gather support for co-signers. We have spoken to about, I think, 25, and I'll be down in Washington next week doing the same thing and just waiting for them to co-sign the bill, gather support. And what's probably is going to happen is that they'll sign on. Soon as they see others sign on, they will trickle in. Everyone's waiting for somebody else. The process in Congress, Capitol Hill is very complex. It's very frustrating for anyone that knows me. I like to get things done, like to get things done now. So my patients have to get checked in a little bit, but we have support. I haven't received any negative comments from any of the offices. We got positive support. We got vacation time now in the summer. The end of the 119th Congress is going to end in December, and I'm hoping and praying, and my confidence is high. It's going to get done this by the end of the year. But as all end of the Congresses are, the last few months are pretty crazy and hectic. So we're going to be entering the fourth quarter, and it's going to be an interesting end of the game as we get closer with this bill.
Pete, you mentioned Senator Cortez Masto. Now, she is a senator out of Nevada. She's a Democrat. And apparently, she is advancing a couple pieces of legislation directly affecting the construction workforce, involving, I guess, the Secretary of Health and Human Services. You and I have talked about this for a number of years, the program that the insulators have, because the rate of suicide, especially in the construction industry, is much, much higher than the general population. Talk to me about this legislation, how it's going to help workers.
Again, thank you for bringing this up. As you know, this is near and dear to my heart. As insulators, we've developed several programs that bring suicide prevention and substance abuse and mental health into the forefront. This is something we got to talk about more and more. I'm very proud of the strides that we've made so far, but only knowing we got to make a whole lot more. When we started this venture for the insulators, we started out with awareness and making people aware that construction workers are dealing with a high rate of suicide, a high rate of deaths with overdoses, with substance abuse, mental health issues, as well as a host of other things. You can't be involved in the mental health arena without peeling back an onion, and every time you peel back an onion, there's another layer. So it's a very complex state of affairs that we have to deal with. And we look at studies, and we have to be able to understand this. And when it comes to construction workers, the data is there that extremely high rate of suicide and substance abuse. And while that's been established, there's very little data out there that says why. Why is this happening? What are the root causes of this? And myself and the professional people that I work with to help me and understand these issues, we look at other data and we try to pull data out from other studies, workplace issues and why are workers suffering with this and overtime and bad management, or all of these issues that are real, that studies have been done. And we in the construction industry, we got to sit there and dissect it and try to pull data out to how it affects our community in construction. God bless Senator Kathleen Cortez Masto, who's always been a champion for labor and for the working families of this country. And she has introduced a bill requesting Congress and the Secretary of Health to be able to generate the necessary funding needed to do an in-depth study and analysis of why construction workers are suffering with such a high rate of substance abuse as well as a high rate of suicide. As soon as I saw that bill, I jumped right on it. I contacted her office. I'm already, as I am pushing the Federal Mechanical Insulation Act, which I am, also as a caveat, I'm also asking for support on this. And I can't see how anyone would have a problem performing a study to find out why American citizens are suffering issues and suicide based on doing their job. I just found out about this 3 weeks ago. So we're doing our best to be able to support her efforts. We utilize a company called U-Turn in with our IMAP program, Insulators Member Assistance Program. These are the professionals that I rely on, and they do the training and the coaching and the peer counseling for our members. And they have a lot of connections in Washington. They're on several committees in Washington along the same lines, and they kind of needed this bill as well. So I'm here like a broker trying to connect very good and smart people and try to put them in the same room. I believe U-Turn Health is they solely take care of these issues. They work with our local unions around the country. They understand the construction market. They understand the construction worker, and I'm connecting them with Senator Cortez's Masto's office, and just trying to put very intelligent, smart people in with powerful positions, and hopefully we can get some progress on this. Unions do a very good job of protecting our workers, and I do believe in collective bargaining. And when we sit down with our employers, if we have a study that can be able to demonstrate how we can improve the construction industry, that makes negotiations at the table a lot easier. And the management side of our industry, these are business people. They want the business to flourish, and they also want to be able to protect the workers. And if there's something that we can do better, and let's get beyond awareness, let's get beyond some simple counseling. Let's figure out the root causes of why our construction workers are affected by this terrible epidemic, and let's get to the causes of it, and let's try to correct it.
Well, it's really good that this has got the attention of those in Washington, those in power. Those of you listening, too, go to that website that I mentioned throughout the show, Mechanical Insulators, LMCT. There's a lot of data posted there. Here's one takeaway. Construction workers make up only 7.4% of our workforce in the country. 7.4%, yet account for nearly 17.9%, almost 18% of all suicides with a reported industry classification. Wow. That's just one. That's one of the things. And there's a whole lot more posted on that website, Mechanical Insulators, LMCT.com. Pete, always a pleasure having you on the show. We appreciate your contributions and your sponsorship, of course, on behalf of the Labor Management Cooperative Trust. You have safe travels going back. Happy July 4th, 250 years of America. And we'll be talking to you next month. Okay, brother?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Happy 4th of July, and God bless America.
And that'll be it for another edition of America's Workforce. Tomorrow, our independent labor voice, Tom Buffenbarger, and SEIU Local 1021 on the West Coast. Until then, all of you have a safe and wonderful day.
That concludes another episode of the America's Workforce Radio Podcast. Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe so you never miss a show. America's Workforce is a production of Labor Tools and BMA Media Group. Find out more information online at labortools.com.